everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Mr. Stenziano, doing good. Did not get up at 4 o'clock this morning. Back to New York. How are you?
Doing good, yeah. James Vanderbeek gets up early in the morning sometimes. So, guys, this is where we would normally plug something to pay the bills. Now, for our listeners, we only showcase products and services that we approve are used in our own business. This time, we're going to tell you about something of ours, specifically our Wheelbarrow Profits community. G-Dad, what do you got?
Where were we this weekend, Jake? Mr. Joshua Rusin, the community director, put together an intensive boot camp in Knoxville, the Buy Right boot camp. It was awesome. We rented a bus. We had a bus tour. We had great speakers out there, cost segregation, community banker. It was amazing. I did a little life coaching. We did Buy Right. We did due diligence. I mean, guys, if you want to become immersed and learn how to buy multifamily real estate, the Buy Right, the Manage Right, and the Finance Right, and you want to know if it's right for you, go on our website, jakeandgino.com/apply to work for us. We don't take everybody. We're very selective. We only want to work with people who are motivated, who know their whys. Why are you getting into real estate? Real estate's only a vehicle. We want you to choose the right vehicle and see if multifamily is right for you. So go on there, jakeandgino.com/apply to work for us, and we'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is that it's actionable content. We don't, we get into a lot of different stuff, but at the end of the day, multifamily investing is a three-legged stool, as Gino touched on. It's the buy, it's the manage, and the finance, and that's what we're all about. So again, if you guys want to check out more, click on apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply. All right, enough shameless plugging. Today's guest is Jim Sheils. Jim is the author of The Family Boardroom. He helps busy entrepreneurs succeed at home and also shares an office with the G-Papa Funk on the call today. So we got a family member on the show. So without further ado, Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jake. Good to have you. Good to be here. Sorry, good to have you. I'm used to having Gino over the house, so I guess.
That's what I'm saying. It's a family affair today. So let's get this kicked off. Why don't you just give the folks out there a insight into how you started entrepreneurship for yourself, got into business, etc.
Yeah, like you and Gino, I grew up in the Northeast, North Jersey, and started to find that the stuff I learned in school wasn't going to get me where I needed to go. Entrepreneurship was never taught to me in formal education, but I left the tri-state area and went out to California and started to heavily immerse into lots of things. And real estate kept calling to me, and all the learnings. I knew I wanted to have my own business. The tangibility of real estate made sense to me. I grew up, 40 minutes from Wall Street. I never liked the financial game like that, and just dove in head first after going to my first course on real estate about 19 years ago. And it was an interesting thing because my first deal was a 3-family house, a probate sale, and a distressed property. So I got to, when people say to me, Jake, what was the best real estate course you ever took? I'm like, that's easy. 432 North M Street in Lompoc, California. And it kind of snowballed from there. But real estate really is what called to me. I like the tangibility. I like the structure and the deals that make sense. Even though I stink with using my hands, I've done over 1,000 rehabs. So that's kind of how things started.
So I've got a really good story about him and his hands stinking and my hands stinking. We're all at Jim's house. Me, Jim, another guy named Pete, another guy named Len. We're all sitting around the table having pizza at nighttime, a couple beers. Jim's air conditioning goes out. And we're in trouble.
Brand new air conditioning.
It was like, the house is 90 degrees. I'm like, I love this because now it's 80 degrees outside and I'm cold, right, dude? And, so my wife turns to me and goes, there's 4 real estate guys. Not one of you knows how to fix an air conditioning unit. So I'm like, we don't get paid by that. That is now how real estate guys get paid. That's how most guys think they get paid, right? And I'm like, Julia, pick up the phone. That's a $80 service call, $80 fix. That's not where you need to focus. So everyone thinks about real estate as being hands-on and this and that. No, you have to manage.
She just wanted to see you take the shirt off. She wanted to see that chest hair. She wanted to see you get dirty, bro. That's what that was about.
Well, he took the shirt off, but that was for another reason. He was just showing off at that point.
Not much to show off here, you know what I'm saying? But I just thought that was the highlight of the night. I'm like, there's 4 guys who have probably in excess of, thousands of units of experience. That's not where the focus is. The focus is on being an entrepreneur and not fooling around with those things. But Jim, touching a little bit, why real estate? What was the real draw to real estate for you?
Well, again, I had learned that money was not most important, but it was a very important tool. No one can tell me differently now for the things that I've been able to provide, the things that I've been able to make space for in my life. And I wanted to do something that I thought I would enjoy. And so again, as I started to test into everything, from franchises to this or that, I like the tangibility. So I dipped my toe in the water. Mm-hmm. And it seemed to work. And I read that stat that I know you and Jake have read probably 1,000 times, that 7 out of 10 millionaires in the US had made their money in real estate. And I like those odds. Those odds made sense to me. I said, if I'm going to go into something, why not go into something that I'm kind of having a liking towards? It has good odds, and there's mentors that I could follow. It just made sense to me. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the direction I went, and I was lucky. Again, I am such a component of mentors, like what you guys do for new apartment buyers is priceless, because I can see I had enough blood, sweat, and tears over the last 19 years. But if I hadn't had my mentors there, holy cow, that would have been terrible. So it just kind of all evolved for me, Gino. And the most important thing I think I did, joking around like the best real estate course, was doing that first deal. I was far from an expert, in fact, but it kept evolving. You did your first deal. Whoa, if I could do one deal this year, holy cow. If I could do one deal a month, oh my gosh, now you're just getting silly. You can't do one deal a month. If I could do 3 deals a month, and then by the time I'd done 100 deals, I was like, wow, I got a lot to learn. But I was still interested and still passionate and still getting better and finding my groove. So it's an evolvement. But what took me there at the beginning was it drew to my talents, certain talents I had. And I knew the ones that I didn't have, I could delegate or find support, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And everyone out there, your net worth is comprised of your network. And Jim knows guys like you wouldn't believe. I asked him, Jim, you know this guy? Yeah, I'll get him on the podcast. So talk about those mentors that you use, that you like, and why mentors, why mastermind groups? What has that done for your life?
Oh, it's completely changed me personally and professionally. I think the good thing about mastermind groups, the really good ones that you get into, it's a one-legged stool if you try to just focus on the real estate technique or whatever business technique. It's personal and professional balance in both. You have that integration of both. And what it's done for me, Gino, is brought more confidence, more importance to my relationships. It's given me courage, especially with mentors and small mastermind groups, to step into things that I never would have stepped into, to make decisions that I never would have made without their support. I mean, you're one of them. I've gone through some big transitions in the last 2 years, making some tough decisions with going into new business ventures. And I am not a lone ranger. I just never have been. And I feel better when I have like-minded people around me, encouraging me and challenging. And that's what happened, and I was lucky. One of my first mentors, and I don't know if you've had him on the show, was Keith Cunningham. So I feel very blessed. I can help you with that one. What was pretty cool for me is I got to speak at a very large EO event, and I was teaching this thing called authentic gratitude that I teach. Entrepreneurs usually stink at giving their kids compliments. So I was giving this whole technique, and I got to call Keith Cunningham into the audience of hundreds of people and thank him, because I came that close to bankruptcy in 2008. I was heavily invested in residential real estate in Florida and California. We're talking the front lines of awfulness. And Keith gave me advice that we were able to protect our investors, see our way through, keep our feet, follow things when there's blood on the street. Sometimes you got to keep investing, even if it's your own. And I was able to thank him and give him this authentic gratitude right on stage so I could pay it back. I just fell into right places, I think, Gino, because I put myself out there to learn. I wasn't afraid to pay for good education at a young age, in my early 20s. And I ended up having mentors like Keith Cunningham and other people that you've had on the show. And that's made all the difference, because what I've realized is I'm not as smart as I thought I was when I was 18, not even close. Mm-hmm. And mentors helped humble me like that and help me pick a path, choose a lane and stay in it and question the things that I was doing. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded, but It's just an important subject for me that's changed my life.
No, I'm not a big Lone Ranger fan, but I think that would be Tonto there for me. So Tonto's in the background, not speaking over there right now, but I totally agree on that topic. The crazy thing, you've got mentors and all. I really want you to dive into partnerships and what partnerships can bring and what can be detrimental about partnerships, because we've all had great ones, we've all had bad ones. Do you have any tips for the listeners on, what to look out for in a partner and what you should be looking for in a partner?
Yeah, partners. The one thing I want to encourage people, and I think I saw this happening a lot when I would go back to real estate events and teach, and even at Jake and Gino things, I believe in joint ventures. Partnerships like Jake and Gino or things that you have are totally different. I mean, you're financially married, you're all together. So I always say, before you look at a partnership, look at a joint venture, because it could be on a single project or property or something. That's the way to go. And I also encourage people, when you're in an atmosphere like where I used to teach at, or where you guys host, great things for, there's an emotional high. There's a level of comfort. Get to know that person a little bit before you go into a deal with them. I always encourage, get to know the person. And when I say that, learn their core values. If your core values, I go back to core values now all the time, Gino, all the time. Because if core values aren't aligned, then it's not going to serve you. Also, if you're bringing the same food to the, what are those things called, where everyone brings a dinner?
Potluck?
Potluck dinner. If everyone brings salad, you're kind of in trouble. So you have to bring different skill sets, which I see, you bring certains and Jake brings certain. That's healthy. And I've had some healthy business partnerships and some unhealthy ones. Where I hold things is you have to have no fear in business to hold yourself and your business partner accountable, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And so get things written down. Like I always encourage people, it doesn't have to be like the declaration of our great country, but you might have a constitution of like 10 rules. How much time are you going to take off? What does this look like? Who's handling what? Can we approach each other on this? It's a simple constitution, and then an expectations list. So for contractors, I have an expectation list: on time, in budget, quality work. Okay? On time, in budget, quality work. If they don't do all three of those, doesn't work. There's nothing personal against the guy. You might want to go to a football game with him, but there's no way your business can succeed. And when I got too emotionally wrapped up in certain partnerships where it was a friendship, and you can still be friends, but if you can't hold accountable the rules that you guys have set, it's not going to work. So you have to have that level of comfort of being able to be called out and to call out, if that makes sense.
It does. No, it does. Let's pivot into your new company, 18 Summers, and your book that you've written. How did that come about? Where was the idea? And where do you see yourself going in the future with it?
Yeah, so really the spark of this started years and years ago, Gino, well before I had a family. I was getting, again, people joke, like you kind of joked, I kind of became like the Forrest Gump. I was falling back into meeting people when personal development and wealth creation first really was going big about 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. And it was a great gift because I got to get these big mentors and met some wonderful people and get on some stages. But what I saw was something that scared me right from the get-go. And I saw some of these guys who had huge followings, very legitimately huge balance sheets. But when they got to their personal life, and I was behind the curtain now getting to see this. I mean, their family lives were a mess. They were a mess. And that scared me. I didn't want that. I didn't want to have that image of a great professional life and be hiding a sad family life. That really scared me. And I think, you and I have gone on vacation together with a family. Family matters to me. It's a very big core value. And I wanted to do things differently. And so being in this to a young age, a lot of entrepreneurs, probably about my age now, were coming to me because I was in my early 20s. So I was halfway between their age and their kids' age. And they'd start to ask me questions. And I think I was just at a happy medium where I could see both sides still. And from that, I just started to get phone calls and people saying, oh, could we come visit you and talk about real estate and see what you did? And then we'd end up talking about more them having a relationship with their kids. It was, again, a very slow involvement. And then about 7 years ago, I'm sorry, not 7, 8 or 9 years ago, as you know, I was going through a big time in my life and it concreted this work. Two things were happening. One, I was adopting my two oldest sons. And second, I was going through the starting processes of being approved to donate a kidney to my father. And when you go to a point of critical in your personal life with two of those things happening, where I was bringing, these wonderful gifts into my life, but also signing a sheet of paper saying you might die. And I had to reconnect with my father, who I wasn't necessarily close with growing up. you get a whole new priority on things. And that's what happened for me, G. And I think that by being put to this point of critical, the work that I do now, speaking, on keynote speeches, hosting workshops and retreats, it doesn't pay as well as the real estate, Gino, but the equity that it creates for me and my family is of a different level. And it's something that I'll never, ever give up.
Can we jump into the book a little bit? How you wrote the book, why people should buy the book, what's in the book?
Yeah, the book is about helping busy entrepreneurs succeed at business and at home. And no one really talks about that. There's a million places we can go to improve the strategies within our business and this and that. But how do we really stay grounded at home? How do we stay connected at home? How do we get below the surface with our children and our spouse? And it's about the power of rhythms and how if we set powerful rhythms in our family life, it can keep us grounded. It can avoid us from running up that entrepreneurial mountain so hard, so fast with the best intentions. But all of a sudden you look around and either your family's gone, or more often, which I've worked with people on, their kids and their wife or husband view them as a stranger. And that's the scary thing. And no one wants to be in that mode of guilt and depression. So this strategy, the main strategy, the family board meeting strategy, which I'm proud to say, again, when you joke, hey, do you know this guy? It's not my real estate that got me the connections I had. It's the work I started doing with families. Anyone from the John Rulins to the Cameron Heralds to Garrick Undersons to, a bunch of Hal Elrods, a bunch of people you have on your show, they all practice this strategy. And it's a simple way to stay connected with each one of your children in your family. And it's my proudest work by far. And I'm sure you know the story about the main pinnacle really came from my oldest son. And I'm happy to share that story if you think it'll help the group. But it's the relationship I forged with my oldest son after I adopted him, the things we went through, that really made this all come. And people said, you have to write this book. It wasn't me. I didn't want to write it. I felt uncomfortable. People like, you have to write this. If you really care about helping families, you have to write it.
So you want to go through that story?
Yeah. So as you know, Gino, I'm proud to have you as a friend and know my family life so well. Almost 9 years ago, I met my wife. We fell in love instantly. She was the director of a Waldorf preschool. And when I won her heart, I had the chance to win the hearts of two beautiful little boys, because she was divorced with full custody. She had been married young to a high school boyfriend while she was in college. Terrible situation that involved addiction and abuse. And no one I respect more than my wife. She stood up for herself, got out, and I met her a few years later. And the boys and I hit it off famously right away. It was beautiful. And the problem was that there were trust issues for good reason, and things outside of my control, outside of my wife's control. But it was especially hard on my oldest son, Alden. And when I had first come into his life at the age of 7, he was a terrible student, close to failing. He was put on the spectrum at school for autism, and he suffered every night from night terrors. And if you know what night terrors, if you don't know what they are, you're lucky, because it's when your child wakes up in a half-conscious state, freaking out, and it's very uncomfortable for everyone involved. I've been accused of being a naive optimist. I knew these things could change. I've been doing this work as kind of the fun uncle for years, but now it was my chance to step into the dad role. And I knew that it wasn't medication or therapy that was needed. It was a positive male role model to step in and spend quality time with him. So I put this simple strategy to work where they started with a Christmas gift of quality time coupons. Every quarter, and they didn't know what a quarter was, but I said, every 90 days, you guys get a day with me. Your day. My phone is going off, just one-on-one, no one else, just us. You pick the day, you create it, we're going to have fun and enjoy. And Gino, those first 4 meetings within that first year, and Jamie and I can go back and track it, totally revolutionized not only our relationship, but who he was. And it wasn't the power that I expected. In fact, the first few times I got on stage and talked to us, I cried in front of 500-600 people, super uncomfortable. But within a year, Alden went from failing to getting the most improved student of the 3rd grade award. And he was absolutely beaming when he got it. They retracted the diagnosis of autism. They admitted it was a mistake. And probably most valuable to me was within a year, the night terrors were completely gone. And for me at the time, even though I was building back a business, I would have given up my entire real estate portfolio for those results, but I didn't have to. And other people don't have to either. I mean, I don't know what people are going through out there, but this was a pretty heavy thing, important thing for me. I wanted to make a difference. Soon after, the boys asked me to adopt them, which was one of the greatest honors of my life. But it wasn't medication or therapy. It wasn't delegating myself out of family life and saying, let me hire someone to take care of it. It was me stepping in and making that difference. And it's meant the world to me. And now we're on our family adventures out in Utah right now for a month, going to this, that, and the other. And you wouldn't recognize the old Alden. Gino, you wouldn't even know that. I tell this story and you look at me like, that's not the Alden I know, because you met me years later. He's now a strong, powerful fisherman, adventurer, helping me with real estate deals, doing alternative education with me, a totally different life change. And that's the power of quality time. That's the power of setting intentional rhythms in your family life and the difference you can make. And most of us went into entrepreneurship just for that, to have that freedom, to do the things we want to do, to make a difference in our family lives, to be the ones that our kids come to when they have a problem instead of their friends or the internet. And that's what the Family Board Meeting book is all about. If you put this one strategy to work, like so many of your other guests have done, Gino, it's a game changer. And it's simple, it's easy to apply, and you want to keep doing them year after year after year.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Unfortunately, it's really not that complicated, right? It's focusing on, I've got my little girl here. She's, I was away for the weekend, right? So Sophia, I walk with at nighttime. So I missed all my walks at nighttime. Veronica, I didn't get a chance to read. Cecilia, she's always over me. So it's just focusing and spending a few minutes every day and making it your time with them. We homeschool, so it's a hard thing to do homeschooling, but you're actually focusing on it and they're always around you. They're around themselves. So I totally agree with what you're saying. And people need to slow down and figure out what's important for themselves. If family's not important to you, please don't have kids, because kids aren't there as trophies. That's part of the problem. But now that you have them, they're your responsibility. They're your number one responsibility. And if you want your daughter to marry a really good guy, you better be a really good guy, because she's going to marry you. And if you're a jerk and you're selfish and you're condescending, guess what? She's going to marry you. So, I mean, to me, that's always resonated with me. So, I have 5 daughters, so I always have to watch what I say. I always have to watch how I look. It's important. Why are you laughing back there, Tonto? Are you making fun of me?
Because you're getting on me about the effins this morning, so I had to watch it because there was little ones in the background. So I had to zip it up, and it took me a second to course correct.
I have that same problem with the effins, so don't feel
you gotta watch the effins are a tough one to break. I struggle with the effins.
You know what, I do too, but I mean, you know what, off camera and when they're not around, I'll let one slip every now and again. But I mean, honestly, they're always looking at you, always diagnosing, and always trying to plug holes in your business plan, right? You have a business plan, and if your business plan ain't working, they're a banker. They ain't giving you the money, right? They ain't buying what you're selling, right? So it's really important. And I think, honestly, to me, how can't you love them? They're so awesome to love, and just be real with them. That's what they want more than anything else. So I want to jump into your 3 simple steps to create a lasting connection with your children. Can you just jump into those 3 steps real quick for me?
Yeah. And again, I love this strategy because it could be on the back of a napkin. Again, it's not that hard, which I think some of the most profound things are the most simple. The one thing that I've found where it's the secret sauce, if I could, principle number 1 of everything I talk about is, you have to separate the parts to strengthen the whole. It's the best way to strengthen family life. Get one-on-one with your most important relationships. When I have 4 kids, Gino has 5 kids. So people go, wow, that's a lot of one-on-one time. Great. How lucky are we? That's the way I see it. But kids are individuals. You have to get one-on-one, separate the parts to strengthen the whole. Same thing with my wife. Every Wednesday night is date night. I'm not available 5:30 to 8:30. I don't care who wants me on their podcast or what investor is coming into town. I'm not there. I have date night with my wife. One-on-one time, separate the parts to strengthen the whole. The second thing is, and this is a big conversation with a lot of us, is without electronics. You have to have focused quality time where the electronics are off. Look, I appreciate it. I'm in Utah right now on a family adventure. I'm able to talk to you guys in 3 different areas, but you have to disconnect to reconnect. There's tons of science out there to show it. What I like to compare it to is, we all know now with the health benefits that are going around about intermittent fasting, right? Intermittent fasting, you take these breaks from eating, it allows the body to rejuvenate through that. I call it intermittent tech fasting. So I do intermittent tech fast. So if I'm one-on-one on one of my board meetings with my son or my daughter, my phone's not on. It's not invited. Because when you get that, if you're spending one-on-one quality time with your spouse or one of your kids, and you get that text that someone just screwed up the title on that deal that you're closing, and your head now goes there. Those F-bombs are about to start coming out. You've lost the focus quality time. So you got to disconnect to reconnect. So I really encourage people to look at intermittent tech fasting. I'm not telling you to give up tech completely. I'm telling you, go live in the woods. What I'm saying is, principle number 2 is you have to disconnect from the electronics sometimes when you're given focus one-on-one time. And the third, which I think is the most fun, is a fun activity with focused reflections. And fun activity with focused reflections is the shortest definition there is for experiential education. Now, Gino, like one of my missions is to improve education for our kids. I know it's one of yours. Like, I think that we're so cheated today of what really matters to prepare our kids to not only use the gifts they have, but to be prepared for the practical affairs of life. And experiential education allows you to deepen your relationship with them and learn more about them and teach them the things. So by the time they're 18 or 19 walking out the door, they're going to be prepared. You're going to feel more confident. They're going to feel more confident. So that's principle number 3. There's a story that I think, like, I know I said it to you guys before we start, Gino, I got to tell you this story that happened on the road about experiential education. I don't know. Can I share that with you?
Yeah.
For example? So I know I've talked with you guys a bunch of times about financial intelligence. Super important to me. I just don't think it was taught. I know it wasn't taught to my parents. I didn't learn it till I was in my early 20s, really, when I started to get mentors. But a great thing happened. So we're on an RV adventure. As you know, my most exciting deal, Gino, as you said right now, is the RV resort I'm building west of Jacksonville. So I really immersed myself, and we decided to buy an RV. But we rented one a few times. Then we shopped around for a year. We started to learn about it. And then I wanted to see, because I have this rental in my blood, to see, well, can I actually rent this when I'm not using it? There's actually an Airbnb market for RVs. The one that we got a nice Mercedes River Forester. We figured out what we wanted. Okay. And we made our boys who are 15 and 13 a part of the process. And they would ask these questions about, well, can't we just get this bigger one? And we'd say, well, we're going to rent it when we're not in it. And people actually like this size, make, and model. And, well, can't we just, let's go into the RV show and buy something. This RV show is incredible. No. You want to shop around. So we were talking about shopping around. I got to talk about trading ranges, because we went to these RV shows about, okay, some people, it can be the same thing. And it goes, you can buy it for this or you can buy it for this. So got to talk about trading ranges and the importance of being smart with the way you purchase things. So we get into this RV resort in a little town in Wyoming. Parked next to us is an identical unit to our RV, a Mercedes River Forester, 25 feet. Super nice guy. So first of all, I have a soft spot for veterans. He was a vet, 72 years old. This guy had forearms like this still. Vietnam vet. I mean, the 3 of us would have lost him in an arm wrestling contest. Okay. So first thing for experiential education, again, teachable moments. I've always talked to my kids about, look, not about politics, but if someone went and risked their life for us, we're going to respect them. So the respect for veterans. So he's telling me how he just made this trip to the Vietnam Wall. I sat there and I listened. So my sons got to see that. They sat there and listened. He said, I lost my best friend. He's on the wall in combat. I got to talk to him. Boom. You can imagine the conversation we had after this moment. But then we went into a conversation. Where did you get your unit? How was it? And a beautiful guy. But he said, do you mind me asking what you bought your unit for? I said, sure, no problem. Out the door, it was $80,000. And his mouth drops. And he goes, really? And I said, yeah. He said, I paid $112,500. And I could see the boys' heads, because we had so many conversations about this, and they had been a part of the process of buying this RV. They kind of went like this. And so we finished the conversation with this Vietnam vet. I thanked him for his service. He was going to a next adventure to see his kids. He was with his wife. And we started down the road. And my wife is sitting in the co-pilot seat. I'm there, and the boys crowd up. We let the little ones watch it was one of those learning shows so that we could have this, and we debriefed. And just since we have been making him part of this process, he's like, my son's like, oh, the trading range, he paid $112,500, but we paid $80,000. So that's over $30,000 for the same thing. That doesn't make sense, but that's what you're talking about, trading ranges. And like, oh, that's why you didn't want to just go buy it at the RV show where everyone was saying you get this, and this refrigerator thing. And so it was a teaching of a financial intelligence through experiential education. We made him a part of this experience. And then also at the vet, he's like, wow, that was a powerful story that he lost his best friend in battle. Now I see, why you always try to respect these guys and show extra support in the free talks that you give to veterans forming their own businesses. Anyway, it's just experiential education is such a cool thing. And if you don't delegate education completely out to the government and to fancy private schools. Get involved in your kids' education, especially stuff that's not taught. Personal development, financial intelligence, relationship skills, things that'll be really making a difference between their personal life and professional life. But I was so excited, Gino, to tell you that story since the talks we've had, since the boys got to hear it firsthand. Because, we can say it till we're blue in the face. Mm-hmm. But for this to unroll like this about trading ranges and shopping around and, it was, and then him even saying, we park it most of the year. Mine's not parked most of the year. It's going to be Airbnb'd out when I'm not using it. So it was just a lesson that I think will serve them later. And it brought us closer together because also, like you said, kids have good BS detectors. And they knew, all right, Dad's not really BSing us about this. This is a real thing. So anyway, it was a super exciting moment in the middle of a little town in Wyoming that I wanted to share with you.
Jake, before we go to the short answer questions, there's two things I think. To be experiential, you need to be the person you need to be. So you need to have that personal development, and you need to know about education and being financially, fit to teach the kids, right? So if you're teaching them crap, they're going to learn crap basically. So become financially aware of what's going on. Take financial control of your life. And personal development is just an easy thing to say, to throw around. But if you're not personally developed, how are you going to personally develop your children?
Yeah. Yeah, it is the most criminal thing not to teach personal development and financial intelligence as core curriculum in school, I feel. So it's our job to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think those two subjects alone, along with relationship skills, I think that they will, it's like the difference between your kids investing in Enron or Apple, between if they have it or don't have it.
That's right.
I think it's that powerful for them.
Well, you know what? Hey, listen, the War of 1812 is great. We need to know about the War of 1812, but I think we need to know more about money and more about what makes us tick and more about life coaching than we need to know about the War of 1812. And social intelligence is so much higher than any other IQ level or anything like that, because if you can get along, you can create relationships and you can become interested in other people and build that network. That's the most powerful thing I think we have. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you just said that interested in other people. We were just talking about the alternative education. We do a deep dive, slow digest every 90 days with the two boys. Mm-hmm. A book, we read maybe a chapter a week, 10, 12, 15 pages, and then discuss it. Very slow process. But we did Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People 2 years ago, Gino, and I just hear that line, be genuinely interested in other people. Alden brought that up the other day. He's like, Dad, we got to do that with Leland because he'll really like that. I still remember lessons. So but it's most things that we wouldn't even be exposed to unless we take the initiative to get it to our kids now, because they will get it now. They don't have to wait till they're 25.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. And there's no, kind of experience that I ever had in school that was as valuable as that teachable moment that you had with your kids. You're not getting anything even relatively close to that in school, because that applies on so many different levels, on so many experiences that you'll have in your life. When they're going to buy their first house, they're not going to be just paying, retail for it. When they go buy their first car, they're not going to be paying retail. They're always going to have that in the back of their mind that there's always something better, and I need to shop this and make sure that I'm doing the right thing, or you're going to be left overpaying, and then it's going to hurt you financially, and it's a trickle down effect to that. So there's such a broader application to that than anything I think you're going to get inside school. Before we move on to some of the other stuff, is there anything else in terms of like a broader framework or anything else that you want to dive into the book before we get into some of the short answer stuff?
Just be sure not as an entrepreneur to delegate yourself out of family life. You really cheat yourself. And then what I've found is when I've worked with people, they end up feeling guilty and depressed. Delegation is a key thing in business. But if you completely delegate yourself out of your family life with nannies or spouse or an older sibling or a grandparent, it will take its toll emotionally through the years, and you might not even realize it's happening.
Yeah.
So it's an honorable thing to provide for the family and to build a business. But don't delegate yourself out. And again, if you'll set some key powerful rhythms that you'll stick to, you don't have to. And I think that will give you the grounding and kind of the pilings in your relationship at home. And you don't have to feel guilty and depressed. And those two words have been brought up to me so many times with entrepreneurs I've worked with. You don't have to do that. Don't delegate yourself out. Set some rhythms, stick to them, and see what happens.
Gino, the biggest thing he's that I'm connecting with and what he's saying here is from, for a business, every week I have something called a cadence of accountability. And it's little checkpoints that I need to do every week to make sure the business is functioning. And there's no reason that I shouldn't have a cadence of accountability or rhythms for the family side of it too.
Absolutely.
It's kind of, it's eye-opening to me right now. And look, it goes quick. So I think it's definitely something that I'm going to be adopting. Being a junkie of personal development on, multiple fronts, it stacks up, man. So time is the most valuable asset because there's only so much time to go around. So it's like, all right, something else is going to have to be pushed aside.
Yeah. I mean, and the beautiful thing though, Jake, is I'm not talking when I say to set a few rhythms in your life. That doesn't mean 47 different rhythms. You might try a few out. But I'm telling, if you just set like 3 or 4 powerful rhythms, like I do these quarterly board meetings with my kids. We have weekly.
Oh no, I get it.
And then date night with a question weekly with my wife. A few of them make, that old 80-20 Pareto's law, like 80% of the results really come from keeping these rhythms. So it's only a few you really need to make most of the difference. I'm
secretly just looking to kill some stuff that I shouldn't be doing right now anyways on the business side. So, hey man, it's good, right?
There you go.
So, I always love to ask, we get some really great people on the show. What is your best habit for success? What is, and this is going back to your weekly rhythms. What is something that, just on the straight business side of things that you do on a weekly basis that has made you successful?
I have done the Stephen Covey plan your week since I was 21 years old. So for 23 years, I've been doing I'm still a paper guy. Whoa, there it is. Yep. So I have my 7 areas of life, you know what I mean? And I do that planning every week. So that's one of the most powerful things. Plan by the week, not by the day. That was Covey that taught me that, and I still believe in that wholeheartedly. I believe in, again, I know you guys have had Hal on the show, Miracle Morning. Like, I believe starting your day right. I have certain routine that I do in the morning that I think is super supportive. And I've been really serious. Like right now I'm on a 4-week trip. Our family's out here. I'm speaking at 3 different events. I'm meeting with some investment partners, but I've been real serious about keeping that morning rhythm. So that's something as well. And I think what I hit on was I am not afraid to surround myself with people that I respect and I think will challenge me and probably are smarter than me. Gino's smarter than me. He's not going to admit it, but he is on a lot of the things that I've taught. So I want to say, and there's probably maybe a few that I am, but we challenge each other and push each other. So those mastermind groups and accountability groups that I put myself into, that's one of the smartest things I think I've done.
Yeah, but Jim, you're better looking than me, so don't worry about it.
I don't know about that.
Here's the thing I want to challenge all the listeners on right now, because we've had so many really smart, talented individuals on the show. And if you went back, and I ask everybody this question, if you went back and listened to, even the last 50 guys we've had on the show, everything that you just said has probably come out from someone else. So it's cliche. No, this is a good thing because success leaves clues, right? And I think that guys, a lot of this isn't rocket science. There's so many guys out there telling you and sharing from their experience what has worked. And I know that's why a lot of folks are on here listening to it, but it's hearing these things, and that's great, but then it's taking action. And I think that's even this weekend, my biggest fear with some of the guys that came out to the event, it's just, guys, this is the framework. He's giving you the framework right now for a successful family life. But it's the implementation. That's the one place that so many people miss or trip up. It's taking it, then actually acting on it. And he talked about, his weekly planner. You want to make sure it gets done. Put it down and make sure it's going down there, because if you see it and you're disciplined enough to make sure it gets crossed off and you actually do it, that's going to convert to something else. So it's taking maybe a broader goal, reverse engineering it, chunking it down into smaller things. The goal is, having a good balanced family life. So what does that look like? Quarterly, weekly dates with the wife, quarterly one-on-ones with my sons. Guys, this is what it's doing, but it's the discipline and the implementation that so many people trip up on. So,
Jake, that's what happened this weekend. We learned this weekend from one of our coaches talking about it. He doesn't believe in 3 to 5 year goals. I sort of disagree with that, but I can see where he's coming from. plan your week, focus on what you need to do. So let's translate that into multifamily. You need to get a deal. Well, you need to be calling brokers. So if you call a broker today and you call a broker tomorrow, the next day and followed by the next day, planning the week out, guess what? You're going to get some deal flow going. And then guess what? Maybe you need to get some investors. Start calling investors. It's not rocket science. It's the ability to plan, to know what you want, to focus on knowing what you want, to go out and to, I don't want to use the word grind because I love calling brokers and also, but if people want to use that word, grind it out. And then by the end of the week, you have done a lot of work and then it falls into the next week. So I thought that was really this weekend.
I think that, and people would say to me, Gino, you hit on something really powerful there. And I talked with Hal on his show about this. When I did bulk foreclosures, so we would do, over 100 a year, which was pretty good when these were thick rehabs. The alarm clock would go off Monday morning, and I've planned my week, and I knew by Friday I was going to have 2 to 3 single family foreclosure homes within our parameters under contract. So I planned my week, and then each day it was like, I know by Friday I just have to stay with it, make those connections, make those calls, go out and see the properties. By Friday, 2 to 3 properties would be under contract within those parameters. And that might seem like a lot for some people, or not a lot for others, but you can work your way up there. But literally I would niche down to that and say, I don't know what's happening out in 18 months, but I know this week I'm getting 2 to 3 good deals. And that went on for a week, month, a few years. And that was a major, major rebuilding of my business from '08. Just that one thing. Alarm clock went off Monday. By pizza Friday night, I know that I'm going to have 2 to 3 good deals under contract.
Nice. What about a book recommendation? I'm sure you've read some good ones in your day.
There's Wheelbarrow Profits.
He said the family boardroom.
So we're actually, the book we're reading right now, again, we do one with our boys every 90 days, is called The Empowerment Dynamic. Awesome, awesome book. It's about the dreaded drama triangle. One of the best personal development books I've ever read. It's called TED, The Empowerment Dynamic. I can't remember the author right now, but copy's over there, so I won't go grab it. But it's my 3rd time reading it. And I read it the first time in a leadership group in Texas that I was in, the second time with my son Alden 2 years ago. And now we've brought it back into the rotation of our books because my son Leland's of the age to join us. Phenomenal. And what it's about is about the dreaded drama triangle. Most of us live most of our lives either as a victim, as a persecutor, or as a rescuer. And people go, oh, rescuer, that's good. No, it's not always good. But we have the option to get out of this dreaded drama triangle and live our lives as a creator, where we choose where we're going. We create the life we want instead of acting like a victim. We could be a coach instead of a persecutor, and we could be a challenger instead of a rescuer. It's a brilliant, brilliant story form, easy to read. So that's what I'd recommend, The Empowerment Dynamic.
Mr. Stenziano, that's 7 levels of energy right there, right? Victim,
yeah, we're all over.
anger,
We're all over the board.
responsibility, compassion, right? There's 7 levels of energy. That's wherever you resonate in life is where you get stuck. If you're resonating at a high level, stay there. So I can go on. That could be another podcast and a half, so I won't. But there you go. Like an awesome book, dude. It's
a great book. Great book.
So,
what project are you excited about right now?
I am building an RV resort west of where Gino and I live. I've never done a project this big. Some of it was pushing from my friends doing apartment buildings and things like that. But it's something I enjoyed. I grew up in New Jersey. RVing was, Cousin Eddie, Merry Christmas, shitter was full kind of thing. But it's really not that. It's a growing industry. A lot of the millennials are into it, the retirees, and a RV resort is very different than a mobile home park. It has restaurants in it, amenities.
That's what I want to hear about. Tell me about the amenities. That's what I'm most interested in.
And a lot of people, did you guys ever as kids go to the original Disney water theme park was River Country? Do you guys remember that? Did you ever go to River Country? Okay, it was like beach country, kind of like that frontier land of Disney World. You guys, I know, Gino, you were just there. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like that frontier land of Disney World theme. So we're building, it's going to have 2 restaurants. It's going to have a pool. It's going to have a swimming lake. It's going to have a fishing lake. It's going to have an arcade. It's going to have a stage, and I'm putting it out there now. The veteran work that I do is very involved with Zach Brown Band, who that song, After I Donated a Kidney to My Father, that song Free As We'll Ever Be was a major theme song, a major gift from my wife. We want to try to get him to play at the opening. So we want to start to have musical festivals out there and things. There'll be golf carts to rent because people love driving the golf carts around, kids' bikes, paddle boards, fishing rods. It's like an all-in kind of like a
destination
thing or all-inclusive resort. So there's lots of different cash flow streams, the restaurants, the rentals, pad space. There's like a giant, market for people to buy different things that they want. It's like there'll be pickleball, there'll be the horseshoe pits. There's just it's like kind of an all-inclusive resort, but instead of having a room, you pull up your own RV and you park there. It's more for weekly and nightly people. We're not going to take long-term things because then it takes into more of a mobile home park effect, and that's not what we're going for. But that's it. It's going to be over 800 pads. We got it approved. One of the biggest things I learned in this was approval was huge because we stole the land. And literally the day the gavel went down with the county approving it to be zoned for an RV resort, the land went up about $5 million in value.
Wow.
Just from that rezoning. So it's again, Jake, I've always done simple 3-bedroom, 2-bath foreclosures. So to do something like this bigger, but I have a really good partner or JV partner who has a lot of experience in building in this. And we brought our talents. I'm good at raising money, so I raised the $10 million to do it. And he's good at budgeting and bringing in the other things. And I get a piece of the action without any sort of managerial responsibilities. And I like that. And it's something that I wanted to move into. I've really been inspired by Gino with what he's doing with the apartment buildings, more sensible income under one roof. And that's what I'm kind of looking at here. But I have a personal interest in these because I like to use them. I like to go with them. I mean, I've been able to do research projects up and down the East Coast, out in the beautiful areas of Yellowstone and Montana for the ones that have been done right. And I like it. So that's my project right now.
So I don't know if there's going to be a pet component to this, but in our business right now, everything is like, you want amenities, it's all based on the pets. So don't forget the dog park if you're going to let dogs in, because they're going to
park. Yes.
Inexpensive and a huge value for, everyone's loving the dog parks these days.
Dog pool, my friend. Okay. Dog pool and pet washing stations.
Yeah. Well, as Gino knows, we have 3 dogs. So again, it's kind of like we're our own client in this one. So it's none of the dogs are with us on the road this trip, but it's been a really cool project. It's a bigger leveraging project and something that I had to work up to, but I'm super excited about it, and we'll see what happens with it.
Great.
Cool. So tell us how listeners can get a hold of you, because we want to know if the website's out there yet for the RV park. We want to know about that because maybe we have some customers on the show. Let's get the website for the book and any other ways that folks can get a hold of you.
Yeah, we just changed the name of the RV resort after doing a whole bunch of marketing research. So the site is not up. It's going to be finished completion in September of 2019. So I will get that out to your group, but I'm not allowed to really release it yet till we have the final approval thing. To find out more about what I'm doing, you can go on Amazon and buy the book, The Family Board Meeting. It's a short read. You can probably read it in a night. But again, the strategy works well. So happy to have you join us with that. Also, you can go to find us at 18summers.com. Learn a little bit more about what we do. And again, our mission is pretty simple. We just help entrepreneurs that are busy and wanting to keep business life strong, keep home life strong. We just
18summers.com or spelled
18summers.com. Yeah, and the story behind that is I had a mentor when I was doing a family talk years ago, 70 years old, great shape, still water skiing. I'm telling him about what we're doing. And he stops cold and he goes, wow, Jim. He's like, let me tell you, you're onto something, because I need to remind you right now and listen to nothing else but this. You got 18 summers with your kids. You got 18 summers. Now, look, my daughters are still my daughters, but I'm telling you, it's different. Once they leave the house, there's a total lower amount of time you can have. And we just grabbed those 18 summers. That was our favorite season and made the most of them. And I'm so glad that I did. He's like, so just remember, you only have 18 summers. And when I'd start to mention that on stage, people are like, oh my God, that one hit me between the eyes, like 18 summers. And you start to do the math. You're like,
between the eyes, between the whatever, that's
between the heart. So, but do that math. And it's not to say that if you've missed the 18 summers that are past, you still don't have time. It's just a little harder. But if you're lucky enough to still have kids within those 18 summers or 18 winters, whatever your favorite season is, make the most of it. And that's our whole theme.
I have a solution to that. just be like me. Have a kid every 3 years. Have a lot of 18 summers, right? I'm the solution guy, Jake.
We did it right. I got 3 left with Alden, and I have 17 left with Sammy. So it's like, right? We just, and then we'll have grandkids. So.
You know, guys, before we hop off here, I call Gino the child whisperer. You know, like I have a 2.5-month-old right now. When he was first born, we were at an event and he was crying. And so of course we give Chase to the child whisperer, and like that, he's just sleeping.
Oh, G Daddy knows the kids.
No, he knows. He sits there.
He's got the touch.
But he literally whispers to them. So this is not even a joke. He's the child whisperer. And then so I'm taking a picture and I send it over to Julia, and she's like, "Tell him no. 6 is enough."
Dude, it's sell and be sold. You know what I'm saying?
I still think there may be one in the hopper here. Let's see what happens. I could.
I'll always turn to Gino for advice on family, but never how to handle traffic in New York. I know his limits. So.
Or snow in New York, my friend. That's
snow in New York. Those are the 2 things I know Gino can't help me with. So.
Or owning a restaurant in New York. Other than that, dude, I'm an open book.
Everything else I'll go to you for.
I want to say one last thing. I want to give a big thank you for everyone that has registered for the live event. We are officially sold out. We got about a month to go, and look forward to meeting everybody on October 6th and 7th in Nashville. So super pumped about that, and a job well done by the G-Dad and crew. So
as usual, Jake, this was a great podcast. It was supposed to be 30 minutes. We've gone a little bit longer than that, but I think everyone is going to enjoy the content. I think it's actionable content like we always deliver. I think it's sensible. I think you could focus on it. I think you should run out and buy the book tomorrow. And really, if you think about 18 summers, it's really depressing. So start tomorrow. Focus on.
He keeps saying stuff and it pops ideas. We keep going along here, but the 5 F's, guys, family, faith, fitness, financial, and friends. Okay. So when you're planning your week out, planning your life out, whatever the case may be, we focus a lot on these weekly planners on the business end of it, but take Jim's framework, read the book, and insert that, plug that in those Wednesday nights. And you got to get the book though. You got to dive a little deeper because, we just hit the high level points, but that's the, you take the information and then you make it actionable.
Mr. Stenziano, another thing, keep going again. The 5 P's, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. So if you don't plan your family life like your business life, it all goes down the tube. So after the show, if you guys don't buy the book, you're gonna have some piss poor performance as far as I'm concerned. Right, Jake?
Pull it through, G-Dad. I love it.
Love you, Yaki Boom Boom. Guys, thanks a lot for being
on
the show. We had a great time.
Thanks, family. Thanks, guys. Good to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.